From what I understand, this week, the NHRA will unveil the nominees for the 2021 NHRA Rookie of the Year Award. I don't know if they still call it the Road to the Future Award, Mike, but I think this is going to be a fun thing to talk about a little bit. I'm going to go ahead and throw it out there right freaking now. For what it's worth, Dallas Glenn's my pick. I look at, listen, there's a lot of fresh faces in drag racing right now. Dallas Glenn in Pro Stock scoring some wins. Josh Hart and Top Fuel scoring some wins. We got Mason McGahey. We've got Krista Baldwin. There's several people that I think are making their presence known. But for what it's worth, I'm casting my vote right now today that the NHRA Rookie of the Year, and if he doesn't win this title, I'm telling you, we need to storm the streets. This is an absolute tragedy if this young man doesn't earn Rookie of the Year honors. I'm curious, Mike, JT, what's your guys' take on, kind of the lineup? We don't know the official list yet. Senior editor, Drag Illustrated, Josh Hatchett, told me that the list may be unveiled as soon as tomorrow. I've started to get a few emails and messages with a little bit of campaigning going on, but I'm telling you what, if Dallas Glenn doesn't get this deal, it's a crime.
Yeah, I have to go with you on that. Obviously, we're big Pro Stock fans here when we've seen what this kid has done from the start. Josh Hart, been impressive for this year. I think Josh Hatchett said it best when we were chatting earlier today. In any other year, you would probably have to go with Josh Hart. But the competition from Dallas Glenn for this award has been pretty strong. I do think the whatever that could tip the cap for Josh Hart would be that he's starting up his own team and trying to build a competitive fuel team. That would be the thing that I think maybe could swing some votes in his favor. So we'll just see how it shakes out.
How much do you think that outside, the other things matter when it comes to Rookie of the Year? Every year, this is a great opportunity for us to plug the Drag Illustrated 30 Under 30. If you haven't nominated somebody, I said this on social media late last week, and I need to say it again, that perhaps the most important thing you can do here today on Wednesday, October 20th, is nominate some young up-and-comer for the Drag Illustrated 30 Under 30. These young kids, men and women from all walks of the racing life, get a ton of attention. They really are embraced by the aftermarket. All these companies rally around them. So if you know somebody that you think's making a difference in our sport that's under the age of 30, doesn't have to be a driver, doesn't have to be a crew chief. If they're a young person that you believe is a great ambassador, somebody who's making their mark on our sport, log on to dragillustrated.com/nominate. JT, will you throw that in the comments so people can click it easily? Go nominate somebody. We've already had a few thousand nominations, which is unbelievable. Yeah. And I'd love to see you guys pile on. But to go back to what I was saying, Mike, we look at a lot of things beyond the racetrack, right? We love to see a racer nominated for the 30 Under 30 that's got a strong resume, maybe won some championships, won a track championship, whatever the case may be. But it's not lost on us the other things, the intangibles. We immediately pull up all their social media accounts. We start to ask around. We flesh them out a little bit. And I mean, there's been many times that we've had super qualified young people, super qualified drivers not make the list, right, because they act a fool on social media, or we've heard some, or we've verified some kind of concerning behaviors or whatever the case may be. So I'm curious, how much of those intangibles do you think goes into the NHRA decision-making process? Because honestly, I had never considered that point, Mike, that Josh Hart has to be respected maybe in a unique way because he's starting his own team.
I'm really not sure. I would honestly say that we probably cover more criteria for our award. There's a lot of overlap. Obviously, I think whoever gets Rookie of the Year is usually under 30 and would probably be on our list. But I think NHRA, in typical NHRA fashion, is probably primarily focused on track performance. So I'd really think it has to come down to wins, losses, round records, that kind of stuff. So I think it's probably 90% that, if not 100%.
How great is it, the competition that we're getting in Pro Stock?
Oh,
and just, I mean, around the NHRA period, but let's just talk about in Pro Stock, we've got all these up and comers and it's really revived the class.
We're big on Pro Stock. Obviously, someone in the comments made a good point. Is there a bias for this award, for the Road to the Future or Rookie of the Year award, toward the fuel classes?
We're about to find out.
Yeah,
because I'm gonna say this, and I say it matter of factly. We're about to find out because right. If Josh Hart wins this award, and listen, I'm not trying to poo-poo on the guy at all. Clearly, a very talented driver. They've got an incredible program, and I'm not shortchanging any of that at all. I'm not. But anybody who's a student of this game and knows anything about drag racing knows the complexity of pro stock racing, right? I mean, it knows that this is you can go from number 1 to number 16 by missing a shift by 100 RPM, right? And I'm not saying those details don't exist in fuel racing, but I just don't think. I'm telling you, if Josh Hart wins this award over Dallas Glenn, we are going to find out that the NHRA doesn't care about pro stock. I mean, that's how I interpret it. Yeah. We're going to find out that they don't they don't see it as the same. Because listen, Josh Hart, stud, no doubt about it. He's got a promising future ahead of him. I think it's fantastic news. I'm probably burning a bridge as we speak. Yeah. I don't mean to, but our responsibility here is to be honest. And I look at what, I don't know. I think this is a relatively historic. Josh Hatchett was telling us earlier today, Mike, I don't know if you have these notes in front of you, and I meant to print it, but I think this is like the first time in 10 years or something like that we've had Rookie of the Year nominees that have won multiple races inside the
that's
season.
What I was saying, that in any other year, Josh Hart would probably run away with it. But the competition for Dallas Glenn and others, what are some others that would make this list? Let us know in the comments. Who are we missing that?
I think Krista Baldwin's got to be considered this year. I don't know. I believe she will be nominated. I'm not positive.
And pro mods for this sport, correct? Or is it just the pro classes only?
This is another one of those situations, Mike, where unfortunately NHRA has said that they see pro mod as a professional class since was that around 2010? It's been over a decade, right? That it was supposedly a professional category. But I'm going to tell you another example of it not being treated as a professional category.
Yeah, the reason
is this right here.
A lot of Lyle Barnett comments coming up in the comments. So unfortunately, Lyle is not eligible for that.
I don't believe so, man. I really don't. I mean, they never have before, because I've been to the NHRA Pro Mod Awards banquet several times, and typically the Pro Mod group kind of had their own Rookie of the Year honor, which that's a fun conversation. And I don't know that I have that paired up for us to discuss. So we might as well debate that a little bit right now. Mike, JT, if you had to identify an NHRA E3 Sparkplugs NHRA Pro Mod Drag Racing Series presented by J&A Service Rookie of the Year, I mean, we just had two guys, Lyle Barnett at the Texas Motorplex, followed by J.R. Gray, fresh faces on the Pro Mod scene, put them in the winner's circle. When you look at that deal, who do you think is the Rookie of the Year in Pro Mod?
Lyle's done so much. I mean, they both have, but Lyle, I mean, man, he's been busting it, hasn't he, this year? I mean, let's face it.
He's done. This last win was awesome. I mean, they did struggle
every weekend. He's somewhere, I mean, and he's. I know they both. I know both of them are very busy, but Lyle does a lot. I mean, man, he just jumps all over the place.
If they're taking it just from NHRA performance, though, unfortunately, Lyle missed a few races, and J.R. Gray, I think he's somewhere up there in the points. I don't have the actual point standings in front of me, but I'm almost positive he's in the top 10.
Oh, for sure. And there's something to be said because, and I want to make mention of this when we have JR on the show here in about a half hour, because it's pretty incredible that they had that crash in Bandamere and they were at the very next race. And like that level of commitment, we can't sleep on it. Like it would be, I think it's easy to say that Lyle Barnett is the Pro Mod Rookie of the Year, right? I mean, this guy's got an incredible story. Family-based racing effort. They brought the turbo car out first race, put it in the winner's circle, shocked everybody. I mean, a real shot heard around the world performance at the Texas Motorplex last weekend, or 2 weekends ago. Brought the car right back out, dived into Bristol, and didn't have that same level of success. But J.R. Gray has been in the hunt all year long, and if you factor in the way they ran at Bristol, that was. I've been saying it a lot, but that was like an ass whipping of epic proportion. I mean, J.R. Gray lowered the boom on him.
The Mike Janis and Mike Janis Jr. program behind that, and kind of the melding of those guys from Buffalo, New York, and this guy from Florida. That's nitrous racer. We saw him always on the radial scene with a nitrous car, and he just decided to take a leap. And when Mike Janis Sr. had to get out of the car to jump in that car, I actually talked to Mike Janis Sr. Am I allowed to call him Mike Janis Sr. or is it just Mike Janis?
You can call him Senior. I've heard people say Senior referring to Mike Janis, and it's like they didn't mention him. It's like the artist formerly known as Prince.
Yeah, they're thrilled with that whole program. And I think that they're all hoping to come back and do it again with the same deal, run it back.
Man, I don't know what they've figured out, and I can't wait to ask J.R. Gray, but the way they ran in Bristol was astonishing. They have a lot of people's attention right now, and I mean, we've been seeing them like creep up on it for quite a while, but man, it looked to me like they were maybe racing, swinging for the fences a little bit, nothing to lose. We're not necessarily in contention for a championship, obviously not in contention for a championship right now, but I think they got a little aggressive, little playing with house money, like, hey, we're going to these races, so we might as well try to set some records or blow some doors off or at least be a thorn in these guys' side. But I will say this, and I would say it to JR's face, and I'll probably have to here in a minute. I think that Lyle Barnett is such an incredible story. It's such an inspirational story. You have to recognize like the historical significance of these moments. We're not going to have a chance to call Lyle a Pro Mod rookie again. This is a one and done opportunity. And I suppose that same situation exists for J.R. Gray. I don't mean to shortchange what he's accomplished in 2021, but if you factor in all those outside and away from the racetrack factors, Lyle Barnett, man.
Well, that's how we see it. If we were giving out the award or we were in charge of making the decision, that's how we would base it, on all of those factors. Unfortunately, I think if you showed up to the NHRA Pro Mod banquet and they gave the award based on on-track performance, some of that stuff would unfortunately not get counted in. But it's just awesome that we're talking about this new fresh blood in some of these classes. I feel like we talk about that every week. But we even heard John Forrest when he was on this show say the new class is coming, the new drivers are coming, the new stars are coming. So we need to keep that momentum going.
That's my opinion, man. I mean, JT mentioned it right when we started on this topic that like the coolest part of this whole situation is that there's new people to talk about. I mean, if you ask some of the haters and some of the naysayers that exist in our sport, like it's all over. You know, drag racing's dead, NHRA's dead, it's all dead. And, you know, and I look at it, and if you're really being honest with yourself, we're like living amongst the greatest time that has ever been in drag racing from top to bottom. Listen, there may have been like high spots somewhere along the way. There was some great moments for fuel racing in the 60s and 70s, and I would say even in the 80s. There's been some tremendous moments for pro stock in the 90s, late 90s, early 2000s. We have these huge fields showing up at some of the races, but man, this is a great time to be a part of the sport of drag racing. Let's dive in.
Some all-time history.